Without any visual cues, I bet you know where you're at, dear viewer. It started as a single image on the internet, a yellow room that somehow felt familiar. An unknown user added context that, for some reason, resonated with all of us. You know, they say if you no-clip out of reality, you might end up here. Welcome back. The Backrooms isn't a traditional horror story. There's no author, no official canon, no single version that everyone agrees on. It's digital folklore, the kind the internet stitches together piece by piece until it stops feeling like fiction and starts feeling like something you've always known. And it all traces back to a single image, posted in 2019, a bland, fluorescent room with stained carpets and yellow walls, the kind of place you've probably seen in real life and immediately forgotten. Until someone gave it a name, and with it, a door. There's a sentence that followed that image, and it wasn't about ghosts, or killers, or monsters. It was about something much worse. Accidentally falling out of reality and landing somewhere where you can't escape. To begin our journey through the Backrooms, we must first start where it began. And like a lot of creepy things on the internet, it starts on 4chan. If you don't know what that is, honestly, it's probably a good thing most of the time. 4chan is an anonymous forum where people can post images and short messages across different boards. And because it's anonymous, it tends to attract the internet's most unfiltered, sometimes creative, sometimes ugly. But even a broken clock is right twice a day, and one of those times was on May 12, 2019. That's when a single image quietly opened a door that, in time, could never be shut again. On that day, an anonymous user posted a thread under the simple title, Unsettling Images. Inside was a collection of pictures meant to do exactly what the name promised, to put an uneasy feeling to whoever scrolled past them. Some posters took it seriously and shared genuinely eerie images. Others treated it like a meme and went for lighter, more playful scares. But buried somewhere deep in that collage was a post. One photo that unknowingly would usher in an entirely new era of horror. And on its own, the image already feels wrong. The stained carpet, the dated walls, the flat yellow lighting, the kind you can almost hear. It's too familiar in a way that makes your stomach tighten. But what pushed it from unsettling to legend was the reply beneath it. An anonymous user quoted the image and added a simple idea. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms. Then they went on to describe it. Not as a haunted house, but a place you could accidentally fall into. The stink of old carpet, the mono-yellow walls, the constant hum of fluorescent lights. An endless maze of empty rooms stretching for impossible miles. And the last line is what sealed it. God save you if you hear anything wandering nearby, because it sure as hell heard you. With that, a seed was planted, and in the hands of the internet, it eventually grew into a universe. Over the next few years, a growing community began hunting for more images, more levels, more rules, more proof that the Backrooms could exist somewhere just out of reach. People collected everything they could find, studied layouts, compared details, and slowly, a narrative began to form. And at this moment is when the Backrooms becomes more than just a creepypasta. Because the fear didn't come from a monster, it comes from the space itself. The Backrooms is built on a concept called liminal spaces, places that feel like a transition, not a destination. A hallway, a waiting room, an empty office after hours, a hotel corridor at 3 a.m. Spaces designed for people to pass through, not stay in. And that's why it feels so wrong when they're empty. Because your brain both recognizes and categorizes them. You've been in rooms like this before. Maybe not this room, but close enough, and it triggers a memory that you can't fully place. And you've felt this feeling before. It's like when you walk into a school at night, or a mall after closing. Everything is still there, but the life is gone. Like the world is running, but no one's inside it. And the Backrooms takes that discomfort and turns it into a trap. The lighting never changes, the hum never stops. Every corner looks like the last, and you can't even tell how long you've been there because nothing marks time. That kind of environment doesn't just scare you, it erodes you. Transition after transition, and still you feel like you're in the same place. Panic starts to set in, and soon after, so do the thoughts. What if there's no way out? And once you finally wrestled that thought down, the story adds one last cruel detail. If you hear something wandering nearby, it's already heard you. And I can already hear your next question. If so many people worked on this myth, then how did anyone agree on which direction it should go? And the truth is, they didn't all agree. The Backrooms didn't grow like a normal story, with one author and one canon. It grew in the way internet folklore always does, in branches. Different communities took the same seed and nurtured it into different shapes. One branch became wiki canon with levels, entities, rules, survival guides, a full universe with structures and classifications, almost like SCP. Another branch stayed closer to the original fear, the simplicity of being trapped in a place that feels familiar, empty, and endless. A horror built more on the atmosphere than explanation. Then there's the version that brought the Backrooms into the mainstream once again. The one that felt less like fiction and more like leaked footage, presented by none other than Kane Pixels. But before we get there is one important thing to understand. The Backrooms isn't scary because everyone agreed on what it is. It's scary because the concept is so strong, that it can survive any form you give it. And that's where Kane Pixels took the Backrooms one step further. Because after found footage went viral, he didn't just post another liminal clip. He built a framework that made the Backrooms feel documented. Enter Async.
Welcome to the Project KV-31 Research and Development Team. In this short, informative video, you will be briefed on the required protocol in regard to Project KV-31, as well as receive an overview of future development plans. What is Project KV-31? Project KV-31 pertains to the study and development of the async low-proximity magnetic distortion system.
In Kane's version, the Backrooms isn't just a cursed place you can fall into by accident. It's something a research organization tries to access, control, study, exploit. Which is terrifying for a different reason. Because the moment you turn folklore into a project, you introduce hubris, and you introduce corporate optimism. You introduce the belief that you can open a door and manage what's on the other side. Async makes the Backrooms feel like a real-world disaster waiting to happen. Not because it's supernatural, but because people can't resist pushing buttons they don't understand. The video starts to feel like leaked training tapes, internal briefings, security footage, fragments from a timeline where humanity found something it shouldn't have, and treated it like a resource. And that shift is why Kane's version caught fire. It wasn't just about scary rooms. It was an ecosystem, a plausible alternate history, a slow-moving catastrophe presented like evidence. And once you frame the Backrooms that way, a movie becomes inevitable. Because the Backrooms isn't just an image anymore. It's a setting, a mythology, a door the audience already wants to step through. And this is where the Backrooms becomes something even rarer. Because internet horror almost never makes the jump to theaters. And not because it isn't popular, it's incredibly popular, but because it's built differently. A lot of online horror is made to make it feel like it was found. A strange upload, a corrupted file, a thread that spiraled, a video with no context. The format thrives on fragmentation, on mystery, on the feeling that you stumbled onto something that you shouldn't be seeing. Movies don't work like that. A theoretical film usually needs a clear protagonist, a coherent timeline, a structure that you can follow, and an ending that feels like an ending. And the internet's favorite horror stories often refuse to do any of that. They're designed to stay half-explained, to live in the comments, to be argued over, to feel bigger than the screen. That's why so many internet horror projects either stay online or fall apart when someone tries to explain them too much. Because the scariest part is what you don't see. But the Backrooms is different, because it isn't scary because of the lore. It's scary because the premise is simple and visual. A place that feels familiar but shouldn't exist. An endless space with no exit. And the creeping possibility that you're not alone. That kind of concept can survive the transition from a thread to a screen to a theater. And that's the strange part. The Backroom didn't become popular because it had perfect lore. It became popular because it was portable. A concept so simple that the internet could carry it across formats without breaking it. A single image became a thread became folklore became footage, and now it's stepping into theaters. One of the rare times an internet-born horror idea makes that jump without losing its identity. Not because it finally got explained, but because it never needed to be. As for what I think, honestly, I'm really happy to see something like this make it to theaters, and I'm even happier they put the right person in charge. So many adaptations get handled by teams that just want to churn out a profit, before the story even gets a chance to breathe. Here we have the creator who helped define the modern Backrooms interpretation leading the project, and that gives me hope that the core feeling will survive the transition. So yeah, I'll be there opening weekend. And I'm actually curious, do you have any liminal spaces you're familiar with? For me, it was going with my grandma when she cleaned office buildings at night. Seeing a place built for consistent motion and phones ringing, people talking, fluorescent lights blazing, completely emptied out, it felt wrong, even as a kid. Silent cubicles, cavernous hallways, dark rooms behind glass. The building was still alive, just waiting. So here's the challenge. Comment the most liminal space you've ever been in. A hallway, a school, a hotel, office, anything. If yours hits, I'll pin it and feature it in the next episode. And if you want more from the archive, consider subscribing. I'd love to see you around. Until the next broadcast, I wish you a